I'm live. My first live. Oh wow, got some people here already. Fantastic. I didn't know what to expect. It's my first live. So I have been on live podcasts and things like that before, but it's my first time doing a live for my channel. Um so I'm only using my webcams. I have cameras and I have all kinds of stuff. I got, I'm showing you my mics and stuff that I do for my voiceovers. I don't hook anything out like that up today because I'm just feeling my way through this. So bear with me if it goes a little. We're gonna work through it. So how about that? We're gonna figure it out together. So I got junk in the background. I should move. But yeah, this is my actual. So when you guys watch the videos, this is me coming from my actual workspace. So I work in my basement. Thank you, Punk Face XO, William. Thank you. I was already here. So yeah, this is my actual workspace. So when I'm working on things, doing videos, and that's my work table back here. This is my desk in front of me, which you guys can't see. So yeah, so first, I'm gonna just I want to talk to you guys. I just want to talk, and I get a lot of questions in the comments, and I realized that doing this, starting to do this videos. Hello, hi David. Doing these videos, there's such a need for the content that I'm putting out, and I'm happy about that. So again, my channel started out being about, I just wanted to be about, because I'm a creative person and I spent my life as a creator. And you guys can hear me, right? Hopefully thumbs up, you guys can hear me. But yeah, I'm a creative person. So in my entire life, I've always been a creative person from since I was a kid. And I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker. I love comic books. I love comic books since I was like 9 years old. The same time once I like fell in love with movies and said I wanted to make movies for a living. And so they kind of like intertwined. And so I put up the video how to start a comic book business and prior to that, I put up other videos just about how to be a creative person and how to my lessons I learned in life about hard work and things like that. But once I put up the stuff about the indie comic book stuff, I got such a response to it, and I got all these questions to it. And I said, a lot of people said, well, how do you print? I did the printing, and then that took off. And I was like, okay, so now I'm doing all these comic book videos, which I don't mind doing at all. So it looks like the channel is really going to go into me doing a lot of comic book videos, and I'm going to still throw in my my other creative stuff that I like to do as well. So here's my goal now, and my goal now is to try to, starting in April, to try to make sure that I put up a video every week. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, so if I don't make it every week, bear with me. But my goal is to try to do a video every week starting in April. So hopefully, that I can do that. So because I'm a full-time teacher and a part-time YouTuber, and I would really love to be a part-time teacher and a full-time YouTuber. So if you guys keep subscribing, I did just crossed over for the super chat and stickers like that. So if you want to put a couple coins in, I appreciate that. Thank you. But so yeah, I want to make that change. I definitely want to do this more. I love teaching. I love my kids. But I'm ready to, and I'm always going to teach it, but I'm ready to, leave the classroom day to day, every day. I've been kind of ready for that in a while. And it's not because of the kids, but that's a whole nother story. So I'm figuring most people here are going to want to be talking about someone who Dirty Laundry, but and from Tower Records, my man, Malaji Muhammad. And guess what? I actually brought out a copy of the VHS because I was going to talk about this a little bit. So here I have it on DVD also. But here's my movie, Dirty Laundry. What's up, Newby? Illusion PNG. I don't know who that is. How are you? So yeah, this is my feature film, Dirty Laundry. So it's not porn. I used to tell people that it's but I used the actress in the film, and we went to a studio and got her to dress in a nightgown. Just like one quick scene, she's in a nightgown for like 3 seconds. But it was nice I figured that would get more attention, to get into it. But in the movie Dirty Laundry, it's about one night in an all-night laundromat. And during the course of one night, all this crazy stuff happens. So it's kind of like, if you ever seen the movie Clerks, if you've seen the movie Breakfast Club, it's like Breakfast Club meets Clerks in a laundromat, in an urban setting. And all this kind of crazy stuff happens in this one night in a laundromat. So I want to talk about, first I'm just going to talk about my love for comics. And, as we go along, you guys got questions about the stuff that I've talked about before. Cool. So yeah, so William, so I'm gonna it's not I haven't made it available in a while. I'm going to make it available again soon. It's been it's been it's so it's, again, it still exists, but it hasn't made I haven't made it available to the public in a long while. Because I'm gonna, I guess repress it. Talking about doing it again in 4K, the whole thing. But I think going into next year, I'm going to do a big re-release, and my movie was quite a success for indie film, which I'll get into as well. I made the film. I got it out, and it got picked up nationwide in blockbusters in 2003. So I finished it in 2000, and in 2003 it got in blockbusters nationwide. But it was in Tower Records first. So yes, say Muhammad. I'm going to make sure I say your name right. But I got it in Tower Records first one in the city of Philadelphia, and then I got into all the Tower Records in Philadelphia, and then I started doing this kind of consignment thing that did not exist. I was just trying to do a consignment thing with other Tower Records around the country. And it was like, can we do that? It was like, yeah, I guess. I said, okay. So I had it in Tower Records across the country as well. But then the Blockbuster thing happened. And that was my big, that was the big thing for me. Oh, excuse me. So, all right. So comic books. Let's talk about comics first. I think most people here are into comics. So I fell in love with comics. I tell this story all the time. So as a kid, I had comic books, and I had them. I read them, I liked them, and I would put them aside. Like I just, you have stuff as a kid, but you don't think about it. I got comics here. I got it. I leave it somewhere. It gets tore up, whatever. I liked them. I didn't take care of it. And then I was 9, and my brother had bought X-Men 162, and I have a copy of it. And he still has his copy. It's all tore up because we read it a million times. But I actually went back and bought a copy of it years later. X-Men 162. This is the one that captured my whole heart and imagination. So it was my brother bought it, and I remember it was laying around the house. Like you see, I saw it in the living room, it was in the dining room, it was all over the place. And then one day I just picked it up and stayed down and started reading it. I don't know why. I just picked it up and started reading it. And I was so just taken by it. I was just like sucked into this book. This issue is Wolverine. So it's when Wolverine, they fight the Sleazoids for the first time, or the Brood, and they were on a spaceship the issue before, and it exploded, and the Brood attacked them, and it was like the I'll show you the ones, like the panels that got me, like the full pages. It just Mile High Comics. I'm planning on taking a trip to Colorado, hopefully before the end of the year, and actually talk to Chuck Rosansky, the owner of Mile High Comics. So that's actually on my list of things to do, because I want to make a video about that. Other people have done it, but I want to do it as well. But like panels like this, where Wolverine's fighting like this, like he's fighting, and it's like they're digging in him. He's got his claws and he's fighting, and it was like there's a big like 1-page splash page. But I read the book, and I was just taken by it, man. I was so into this book, and I read it, and I thought about it, and I come back and read it the next day. And I kept rereading the same book over and over again, and it just captured my mind. Wolverine, the X-Men, everything. So I like that kind of story. It's amazing. When the comic graphic novel were cool. So this was the book that got me. So once it got me, then I started looking for looking for every day. I mean, or every month I started buying comic books. You get your lunch money for school, and I run to the 7-Eleven to get comic books. And I brought a couple out. I mean, and these just ones that just made a big impact on me. So this one, Amazing Spider-Man 247. This was my first book that I said, okay, this is the start of my collection. So I got this book, and instead of just leaving my books around the house, I got an old shoebox. I started putting my comics in the shoebox. So X-Men 247 is the one that's my first 60 cents back in December. This was in 82. Hey, my wife says, hey, thank you. That's your era. Started reading 70s and 80s and drawing. Yeah, I just bought that book, drawing about a comic about a Marvel Way. They had it in Five Below, believe it or not, for $5. And I draw terribly. So like everybody else, say, when I want to start making movies, what did I start doing? I started drawing, and again, I drew, but I drew terrible. My drawing was horrible. I still draw horribly. I mean, I got to a point I was halfway decent at one point, but then it's like a muscle. If you don't use it, you know, you lose it. So I never drew fantastic. All right, so so that's why I got into comic books. I just pulled a couple things out of my collection. So I have some choice things you buy at the time, but only you realize that they're going to be choice things. It's the first appearance of the Black Suit, it turned out to be Venom Secret Wars. I had the whole Secret Wars collection, but again, like I used to read my books so much because I was a true fan. I had the one with the X-Men, which kind of wound up being a ton of worth a ton of money, which the cover got torn on that one. And I had some other ones. Oh, this is I pulled these. I got a box of stuff that I don't even bother to bag them. Like this, like I don't know what this stuff is stuck on it. It's like some kind of soapy bleach or something I got on it. But this was one of those books. I remember this one. This one freaked me out bad. This is a story about a kid. So he's like some kind of alien who dies and respawns over and over again. And he goes to the Avengers and he blows his brains out in front of the Avengers, and then his body respawns. And I was like, that freaked me out. This was one of those books. What was this? Oh, X111. So I just pulled a couple books out to show you guys that I'm a real fan. So, so one third thing. So people ask the question. One question I got asked about when I was talking about that they used to pull the covers off of comic books. So this is again, I remember buying this from the corner store. This is the X-Men meets Teen Titans. This is a major book too. I mean, I got it with the cover off. It was like so. It's not like it's Harvey P. Cards to draw. She can give it to artists. Yes, if you see American Splendor, one of my favorite movies, Harvey P. Card, and also if you look at the Crumb, because Robert Crumb drew some of his books for him. So, but yeah, so and actually I want to talk about that as well. So one thing I actually learned to do that I actually did was because when I was, and I'm going to talk about this in my next video about how to hire an artist. It's one of the things that I did when I had an artist, and I wrote in a script what I wanted the artist to do, and he kept coming back. It came back twice, and it wasn't right. And I realized, like, why not just take a picture of it? So I started taking pictures of kind of the idea of what I was looking for, and that actually works. So I actually use that as a tool now to take pictures sometimes of what I'm looking for if it's drastically different than what I'm actually getting. Yeah, so a lot of people asked about that. So that's my next video, how to hire an artist. So real quick, so this question, I mean, so this book, so again, the cover's torn off of it. So why is the cover torn off? This was a really good comic if you ever get a chance to read the X-Men and Teen Titans. So what used to happen is, the comic, so to get comic books, to get the stores to take books, because the idea is like if the store had to pay for the books outright from the beginning, then it would cost them money that they could not afford to keep up and try to buy all these books up front. And then if the books don't sell, they're stuck with them. So so DC and Marvel, what they decided to do is say, okay, we'll give you the books, and then whatever doesn't sell, you can send back to us. So they gave them the books, and whatever didn't sell, they were supposed to send back. But then they realized that the cost of the shipping of the books was so expensive. Hold on. It was so expensive. What they did was they just tear the covers off and then send the covers back. If you turn the covers off, send the covers back, then tear the covers off, send the covers back, then we'll pay you for all the covers you send in. So you send in 100 covers. They say, okay, we got to pay them out for these 100 books because we got the covers. But what these local shops were doing was once they tore the covers off, and people say, I just want to read it. Okay, the cover's not on it, but I still just want to read the book, and realize there's still value in the comic book even without the cover. So then they would take and bundle like 5-6 books together and put them in a pack, and then they would sell these bundles as a pack. And it was sometimes they would sell them off to like local like corner stores outside like the comic book store. They would just sell them off to local corner stores, and they had all these like bundles of books so you can go. And I remember I used to get these, but we would go to church and we had our church money. And I still gave my church money to the Lord. I did, but the little extra money we used to get, like to go to the store, I would always go, and they always used to have these bundles of books in the rack in the corner stores, and I used to buy a lot of these. And I found some really good comics like that. Some comics I probably wouldn't have bought if I hadn't had read them that way, and then I got discovered other titles that way. So I'm just go through the comments. This is such a great book to learn. Which book? Punk Face XL. Hello, everyone. Harry P. Carr, looking to the artist video. Thank you, Tron World. My questions: are you interested in doing collaborations with other indie publishers, and what would be the process? So, yes, not today, but yes. So, again, as I'm stepping into this, so again, I've been a fan of comic books since I've been 9 years old, and I got into so I when I finished my feature film Dirty Laundry, and it was 2003. And I decided I wanted to start I wanted to make I thought I wanted to get into comic book, make a comic book. And then uh I realized, like I said in the video before, it was really hard. It's so much easier now. It really is. It was hard, it was expensive, it was everything. It was so much more than what I thought. And then when I had got some money together and I was looking for artists, I said, well, you know what I'll do? I'll just go down to like the local art college, or I'll go to Temple has a Tyler campus at Temple University, which is in Philadelphia. He's have a campus called the Tyler Art Campus, and there's a lot of art students there. I said, I'll go there, and I'm sure I could find a hungry Tyler student who would love to do some art, and I could pay him something I can afford to pay him to do it. And I got there, and they were like, "No, I don't want to do that." It opened my mind to just because they were art students, they just like, I'm not into doing this. And it was like, wow. So, and even finding people who could draw, some people couldn't draw a comic book way, like Punk was learn to draw the Marvel way. So a lot of people who could not draw, they could draw, but they couldn't draw necessarily comic book art. And that's one thing you got to look for too when you're hiring an artist. It's like, you got to make sure the person that you're hiring is doing an art style that fits what you want to do. And that's important as well, because sometimes people will hire an artist, they're a comic book artist, but it's got to be a comic book artist that fits your vision. So I know artists who are really, really good, but their style doesn't fit what I want to do with certain books, because there's a different style for each thing that I'm doing. So Munch has a specific style that I do. I'm a big fan of Robert Kirkman's style of storytelling. The panels, the way he does his panels, not a lot of panels, very simple, 5-6 pages panels of book. So and so like my Munch book kind of follows that. But so I'm sorry, I talk so much I get lost in what I was saying. So yeah, so anyway, I realized that I was not ready to step into doing to making a comic book. So fast forward in 2006, I started my TV show. So again, I'm a filmmaker by trade, is what I do, and I made my TV show called Heavy Sedation. So this is my TV show. It's on DVD. It was it was 3 seasons. It was 2 seasons. We got to the beginning of the third. Hey, I made you laugh. Thank you. The other comic guy. Appreciate it. So it was 2 seasons of this. It started went from 2006 to 2010, and is a sci-fi comedy show. So it's so like comedy, science fiction television show. And it was a national public television show. It was on public TV all over the country. And after this, I basically, like every step in my career, you do something and you get a level up. You do something, you get a level up. You get articles written about you, get a level up. And so I kept, leveling up my notoriety. And I thought, like, okay, now that I had this science TV show, and I used to get invited to like be on panels at comic book conventions and things like that. So I was like cool. So I thought for sure, yes, Joe Kubert was the man. Thank you, William W. I thought that I would be able to kind of like just walk into a comic book company and say, hey, I'm a writer. Look what I've written. I've won some awards, hook me up. And it just didn't happen like that. And I realized this too. So a lot of people say, I want to submit my stuff to Marvel. Marvel and DC, they do not take submissions. They feel like, they're the major league of baseball. Like it's the NLS and it's the NL and the American League. And they don't take would I be interested in reading your graphic novel? Send it to me free of charge. Possibly, but because that's another thing. I'm Dwayne. I'm gonna get back to you on that. So they don't take submissions. So you say like, well, so because basically Marvel's kind of they kind of like, we're the king, and they have people who scour what's going on. And I'm gonna say, quote unquote, the lower ranks with people. What's Dark Horse is doing, what Image is doing, what I remember Big City Comics. I was close to doing something with Big City Comics, but I think they fizzled out. That didn't happen. There was another indie comic book company. I was talking to them about writing for them, and long story short, I just couldn't get a writing job because I felt like this is what I've done. I can write you some books. I'm interested, and no one was interested. Like they just weren't interested in what I was doing. Like they said, although I had success doing sci-fi and public television, they were not interested in anything that I was trying to do as far as a comic book writer. So I went to the second time. I said, okay, I'm going to try to start this comic book thing again. And it was like 2007. Was it seven? Maybe more like probably like 2008. And at this point, I had friends in the industry, people who actually work for, Marvel, maybe for DC, work for some smaller companies. And I got like friends who actually have done it. And I said, and I talked to them about drawing a book for me, and about, getting collaborating, and realizing again, it would be so expensive to do. And I just didn't have the funds to do it. I was like, I want to do this. But even, paying the artist, and even then someone give me the hookup or whatever. And I just realized there was a lot of pitfalls. And I just like, and I'll say this, you get to a point in your career where you realize, I did not want to get into making a book, having to take all my funds, and then it drag out forever for me to try to get it done. Because that's what Dirty Laundry was. So Dirty Laundry, it was supposed to be originally a 2-week shoot, believe it or not. I started shooting it in October of 1997. It's supposed to be a 2-week shoot. It was November of 1998, almost a year before I finished shooting the film. And then it took me a whole nother year in post-production. So I started learning to see the pitfalls of not having the funds and not having the resources in place, that it would take me a lot longer to get it done than I thought it would get me to get it done. So I was like, okay, I'm still not ready. So then here we go. For fast forward 2019, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this now. I have some money saved. I want to go forward. I want to get this done. And so I pulled the trigger in 2019 to start my own comic book company. And, and again, I learned as I went along. And so the knowledge that I have about indie comic book production is kind of long going. So I've been doing it. So again, because I looked into it the first time. So again, going back from 2003 when I first looked into doing it, and then the amount of time that it took me before I actually did it, I was learning about it that whole way through. And then when I got right up to wanting to do it in 2019, I started going forward. I got the artists. I did hiring consultants to, have sat down and have consultants, and just everything, and just learning about the history of what I should be doing here, what should be doing there. And I always say this too, and I still make mistakes. So if you guys get into this, and you're going to make mistakes, it's inevitable. Even if you watch all my videos and I tell you about everything that I've done and you follow it, something's bound to come up that's going to throw you a left curve. But that's why I say, if you want to get started, just get started, because getting started is the biggest thing. Even if you get started and you make your first foray into it, and I would say, even if you do like an 8-page comic book, just do an 8-page book and get started and just see how the whole thing plays out. And, and maybe you'll get it right. Maybe you'll get it wrong. Maybe some things will go. Maybe you'll look at the artwork and say, wow, this doesn't really hold up. But you learn through that. You know what I mean? So there's some things that I can try to tell you, but there's other things that it still will not. You're still going to have issues. You're still going to make some mistakes, and that's okay. That's just how it goes. And that's what happened with me. Some things just went wrong. So let me see. So I'm going to open up to some questions that you guys had. So what is your way to approach others for collaboration? So when it came to me for hiring artists, so the first person I reached out to, and I'm not trying to name drop, but my good buddy Eric Battle, who's from Philly, who's a fantastic comic book creator, artist. He was the first one to get. So I met him through the comic book conventions. I met him at ECBOC, the East Coast Black Comic Book Convention, which I'll be at again this year. I was at last year, and I'm going to video and I went around and videotaped and talked to a lot of different artists there, friends of mine, like and Stephen Harris and Eric wasn't there this year. And my good buddy Jamar Nicholas Leon, yes, Eric Battle, like my buddy Jamar Nicholas, who I actually went to high school with, who's doing really good well now, Leon Extraordinary. He wasn't there either, but hopefully I'm gonna interview some of these guys and kind of bring to you, their thing. But basically, just a kind of approach, just a conversation, and conversations go best when you have money. So let's say that. So if you say, I'm really interested, I like what you're doing, I like your work, I'm doing this, I would like to hire you for my book. Let's sit down and talk. So and then a lot of artists will be open to it. So some people are just too busy; they just don't do it. So my buddy Chris Cross, like I talked to him about doing some work, and he's like, he's super busy, and even if, I'll say it this way, he's super busy, he's high in demand, and even if I asked him like what his page rate would be, and let's say his page rate is $400 a page. I don't know what it is at the time, but let's just say it was $400 a page because he's high in demand. He probably still wouldn't take the work with me because even if I pay him the rate he would getting paid if he's working with a bigger company like Marvel, the work he's going to do with Marvel is going to get seen, again by 100,000 people. If you deal with me, how many people are going to actually see it? Maybe 10,000 if I'm lucky. So it's not always just even about money. It's also about the reach. And because, you look at it this way, people will do indie stuff if they really want to, but if you have a chance of being in a Scorsese movie, like say, we want to hire you to be in a Martin Scorsese movie, or you want to be in this indie movie in Philly, but we're going to pay you the same amount of money, even if you're going to get paid more money for the Philly movie, you'll still go do the Scorsese movie, like Jonah Hill did with Wolf of Wall Street, because why? It's a bigger exposure. It's working with one of the best, so people will do that. So yeah, it comes down to having a conversation. You find people who you like, you approach them, you see if they're interested. Say, I'm interested in hiring you for this or that. What would you, if you're interested? I'd like to talk to you. Don't just say, well, I have money. They should just take it. That's not how it works. And also when you approach them, understand this, that people will often try to nickel and dime artists, and artists get really tired of that. So if you approach an artist and the artist say, I want $150 a page, and you say, well, how about you do it for $100? That will turn somebody off. You know what I mean? And again, it's not that you can't negotiate your price, but if you just automatically just say, well, how about you do it for $100? That's gonna poke an artist. It's gonna make them upset. Because people are always trying to nickel and dime artists. So I'll say this too. Again, I'll say a buddy of mine, and I'll just say, I ain't gonna say who, but it's another well-known artist who's been around for some time. Got approached by a major company, and the company asked them to do some artwork for this major company, and everyone knows who the company is. Oh, excuse me. Everyone knows who this company is. They good price point per page. I'll get to that one second. So everyone knows who this company is, and they try to basically nickel and dime them. And it's like, well, we'll pay you $70 a page or $75 a page. And he's like, okay. I said, well, look, you're gonna get a lot of notoriety out of this. And he's like, I'm already known, and he was. He's like, he's already known. He's done a bunch of stuff, that as far as like comic book artists go, everyone, most people know who this person is. So if you're into knowing who comic book artists are. But they wanted to give him they wanted to nickel and dime him. And he was like, well, they can get exposure. And he's like, how are they going to put food in my refrigerator? Like, you're a big company. You make a ton of money. Pay me money. That's how you show me, that's what I appreciate. And so he turned it down, and I'm happy he did. Because again, the mindset is like, we'll give you a little bit, and so artists oftentimes are getting nickel and dimed, and it's hard to make money. Sometimes it's hard to make money as a living as a comic book artist with page rates, even if you're full, even if your year is full and you're doing well and you're booked all year long. It's hard to just make a you can make a full-time living if you're booked all year long and you have a good page rate, but they also got to sometimes do other things beyond just doing the comic book art to make ends meet. And that's why I said in the last video about, inconsistent art, because what will happen is even if you're paying your artist, and you should expect to get what you paid for from your artist. But if you're paying your artist and they're doing your book, and then they'll get a big thing will come in that's not necessarily comic book art, but they say, we want you to do a poster for this movie or do a poster for something, and they're going to pay them $10,000, which basically turns into like a cover art thing. They're going to say, well, I got this other stuff doing. Then it's like your page is supposed to come in once a week and say, where are my pages? They say, well, something that came in. And I'm going to say this on a personal note. You can't be mad about people wanting to take other work, but you still should get what you paid for in the time that you paid for it. That's the nice way to say it. So if I'm paying you for $200 a page and you got other work that came in, I understand that you want to take that other work because you need to get that work in. But and again, I'm understanding, but at the same time, it's like if I'm supposed to get 2 pages a week, which is very reasonable because there are people who do a page a day. But if we got a deal where I'm getting 2 pages a week every Wednesday, give me some of my 2 pages, and Wednesday shows up and I don't have my 2 pages, say, what's going on with the 2 pages? So I'm a little behind, but I'll get you on Friday. It's like, okay, if it happens every once in a while, you just kind of understand something came in and I got a bigger job coming, so forth and so on. But what you don't want to have happen is, your 2 pages supposed to be there Wednesday, they don't show up, and then Friday comes when they say they're going to turn it in, and then the pages are not good. It's like, what happened, So again, you want to be, I'm reasonable. I understand that, but you should actually get paid for, you should actually get the work that you're paying for, and don't just say, well, I understand, because then they will drag you out forever. You have to be, and as when you hire artists, and I'll put this in the video, you got to be firm about your expectations of what the artist is supposed to bring you when you're hiring an artist. All right. What's a good comic price point? So price point per page. So it can vary. So if you're hiring an artist, if you're in the United States and you're hiring an artist, and again, understanding people who are in a business for real, they're professional. I've paid at some different books, because I paid $200 a page for on my first issue of MUNCH. I paid $150 on another book I was working on. I paid, that's like for working with artists that are in the US. And again, you pay more, but and it's not a bad thing to pay more if those artists are good. So, but I've hired artists off of Fiverr, and I've hired artists with Fiverr, and again, I have some artists on Fiverr that I work with, and they were charging a less expensive, because if you're hiring, say, like somebody from Singapore or something like that. So there are people out there who are really, really good, and their cost of living is drastically less expensive, and they're only charging $75 a page, and the work is really good. So I have hired artists to do that as well. And I try to always tip them if I can, give them a tip, because I just try to respect the work. And also by tipping, it endears them to make them, want to work with me as I go on. So Dwayne Johnson had success with Fiverr. Would a contract help? Yes, I do always do a contract. I do contract with my artists as well. But again, just even because you did a contract does not mean that people will not. Contracts are only built on a contract as good as the person that you're working with most times. And most people will adhere to a contract, because I figure like this. I still believe that most people are good, and more good than bad people in the world. And people will say to the contract, all right, yeah, I got a contract. Let me do what I'm supposed to do. But sometimes people will just blow the contract and just and not follow through. So one of the things, again, I'm going to talk. I'm telling all the stuff I got in a new video. That is that when you're hiring an artist, you do not pay the artist all the money up front. So one thing that I did, or I do, is that if it's not Fiverr, if I'm working with someone locally or in the US, that what I'll do is I will pay them if we're not going through a thing. I will pay them for the first 2 pages, like we have an agreed upon thing. I will pay them for the first 2 pages, and then let them give them my 2 pages to come in. But prior to even doing that, I will actually have them show them what I'm working on, and I'll get them to write up a couple mock drawings, not necessarily full on everything, but just a mock drawing of what I'm looking for, and see that the art that they're trying to do actually matches what I'm looking to do. Character references, and this is what I'm looking for, and some kind of like pre-work. I mean, not a lot, because it's their time, but something they can typically do within 15-20 minutes if they're a good artist, to say, okay, this is the direction I'm looking to go in, and then I'll pay for the first 2 pages, and then let them give me the 2 pages. And then once the first 2 pages come in, let's okay, fine, let's go forward. Here's the next, do the next 2 pages. I don't pay them for the next 2 pages right away. Then it's like, they got to give me the next 2 pages, and then I'll pay them for every 2 pages that they turn in. So when the 2 pages comes in, I take them, and very important that you really peruse the pages. So don't just look at them and say, okay, these are good, and then and say, okay, these are good, great. And then you'll go back and look and say, oh wait, these are the wrong shoes. That actually happened to me on MUNCH. In my second issue. So MUNCH, he wears sneakers. He's wearing, sneakers throughout the book. I'm trying to find a book. And then there's a page here where, so if you look here, so he wears sneakers, as you can see. But I got to a thing in the second issue when I got another artist on the book for issue 2. And if you look, he's running, and those are not sneakers. I don't know what those are. Those are like, some kind of like, those are like, what's my thing? This one right here. No, this one right here. Those are like, reject Yeezys or something he's wearing. But I didn't catch it until it was turned in. I accepted the page, everything was good. And I said, wait a minute, these are the wrong shoes. So you want to really like look at the whole page, top to bottom, the whole thing all the way through, to make sure that, again, you're getting for what you want. And again, so you don't want to, because also the other thing I'm saying about just when you're hiring an artist, so I work with one artist and multiple artists, different aspects. I work with different artists, so it depends on what I'm working on. So I have so and I have other stuff that I'm working on. So I've worked on other stuff prior to the stuff that before Munch. I mean, I push Munch because Munch is my big foray into what I'm putting out. But I have worked on other things, and I've hired different artists at different times, at different things. But like here's my Super Nana Cap app. So this is a mini comic that I made, and doing the mini comic, is it possible to do it all yourself? Yes, if you have if you're Prince, then do it. If you're Prince and you can do it all yourself, then do it all yourself. But if you look at this, so this book, and this came about in a very different way. So this is one artist that did this book, and every story, I have a different artist for every story in the book. And it's worked out really well doing it. So it's like basically like one story, but different chapters of the same story in this mini comic, and the art, and I have different artists in there, and also I have puppetry. So I made these puppets, and I did the photo work with the puppets. So this is my next release is this. It's a 100-page book of Super Nana and Cap app, and that's my next big release. Yes, and all these are available. Go to snoobycomics.com, or no, I'm sorry, you got to go to outthehouse.com, which is my website. Let me type this in. If you want to buy my books, wait, I messed it up. I still messed it up. Hold on. It's not working. It ain't working. Okay, my thing froze or something. But out the house, that page unresponsive. What the heck?